welcome back. I'm Tedward, and thanks to Acton Auto Boutique in Acton, Massachusetts, I'm driving a bucket list car. This is a Mercedes-Benz CLK63 AMG Black Series. This is the second generation of the Black Series, and something that I certainly lusted after back in 2008 when it came out. They only made about 500 of them. 349, I believe, came to the United States, and this is one of them. It's got a 6.2 liter, 500 horsepower V8, naturally aspirated. No turbos on this thing, and the owner has had it tuned by Bren Tuning. It's got long tube headers, pretty much a straight exhaust. This is a loud one. You're in for a treat, and I'm gonna have to dial in my audio accordingly to make sure that we don't peak. But oh my God, this really reminds me of what it was like to be a car enthusiast back in the 2000s, the early 2000s. This is what it was all about. Before we had burble tunes and all that stuff, we had these monsters. You may notice it looks a little different. It has been modified. Now, we've got carbon barreled wheels, we've got a little half cage in the back, and all new upholstery, even the headliner up above. That's all Alcantara. And then where the rear seats would have been in the normal CLK, of course there were no rear seats in the Black Series, that's all been redone as well with the beautiful quilted and stitched fabric. To make it a little more intense, we've also got these cool racing seats, but they are fixed, so if you're not the right size, this is gonna be a little tricky. I sit a little bit far back in this car, so I'm gonna do my best. I might put up a pillow or something there to keep me situated properly. But yeah, it's inside, it's a CLK. I mean, this is very ordinary, aside from the fact that he's littered it with carbon fiber accents everywhere, which is very cool, but the strangest little shifter in the world. Man, it just represents all of the crazy racing stuff that AMG was into. Under the hood, this is where it all comes together. We can jump under here. This is where we find our 6.2 liter V8. Although everything's badged as a 63, we understand that it's really a 6.2 liter. 500 horsepower from the factory. It's been tuned, so we're probably working with a little bit more. And it's mated to a 7-speed automatic transmission. 6-pot Brembos up in the front, 4 in the back, 265 section front tires, 305s in the rear. I'm not sure if that's actually the stock size. I'll put a little note below. He might have gone a little wider, but we've got plenty of room for that rear 305 because the way this car is shaped, they've got these monster fender flares out here to make room for all that extra rubber. And that's what makes this car look so ridiculously muscular. It just has such a massive presence on the road because a CLK was a handsome car to begin with. And then you push out the sides like this and wow. The trunk is interesting too, not because there's anything phenomenal about it. We've got no spare tire, although there is a fix-a-flat underneath. There is a bracing bar in here, which is very cool to stiffen up the chassis, and it seems that Mercedes even pushed it in and made this funny shape, probably for luggage space. Considerate of them for the race car on the go. Now, this wasn't the highest trim level CLK. There was a CLK DTM, which had a supercharger on it. Very, very, very few of those exist. They made them in coupes and convertibles, but I think this is the one to have. This is the one, maybe not necessarily because it's the most exclusive car, but because it's probably the most fun to drive. So enough chit chat. Let's start it up and see how she handles. The Black Series does not have a special key. It looks pretty much the same as you'd have in your E-Class wagon. Put it in the ignition, foot on the brake. Let's see what she sounds like. You gotta always start your AMGs with the door open. That's a rule. It's a rule. You gotta do it because it sounds better that way. And if you have the means and the ability to get it to pass inspection, long tube headers, man. That's the secret. All right, let's get out there. Oh, and of course, no B-pillar. We love a car with no B-pillar. The first thing you notice, other than the outrageous sound of this car, is the steering wheel. We've got the boxy, almost square steering wheel, kind of strange, but we've got the old school roundy buttons from the old design language of these cars. And then we've got our shifter, this strange little shifter with the little bristles in here. With a nice thunk, we get into drive, we can roll away. rubber on demand. Is there a sweeter sound? I'm not aware of it. It's not subtle. And you'll be thankful for these brakes because they work pretty good. They aren't crazy grabby, they don't upset the car. They're really progressive and linear, and you've got good modulation. But my goodness, this thing, what a monster. Now I am sitting a little far back in this seat, so I'm not gonna go too crazy because I wanna make sure I've got a good handle on the car. The rear end, I mean, it has a mind of its own. Pretty aggressive limited slip in here, that is for certain. Ooh, I love it. All kinds of crackles and pops, but not forced, very natural. This is real motoring. This is what the Germans were all about. Back in the day, when the E39 M5 came out, it was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, this was just a wolf. This was not hiding itself behind much because of the fender flares and the ridiculousness. Now, I know, not everybody can look at this car and know what it is, but I think most people can look at it and know that it's something, know that it's different. I also love the idea that the owner bought this car and said, you know what this needs? Long tube headers, more power, racing seats, all of the things. Like today, I don't know that anyone would really modify this car. They'd probably be too afraid, oh, I'm gonna impact the value. But back then, when these were only trading for like $70,000, $80,000, not a big deal. You would modify this car because you probably still thought you'd take a depreciation hit on it. Brand new, they were around $140,000, which would have been a lot in 2008. But I think anybody who bought the dip got their money's worth. I certainly hope he didn't take a tire tread depth gauge to this car before he gave it to me because I think I'm using some consumables here. All right, windows up. Let's get a feel for what she's like on the highway. I absolutely can't believe how raucous this thing is, but here we are, third gear, 60 miles an hour. Just watch what it does under load. This thing's nuts, man. This reminds me of the old gumball days with Kim.com driving his CL63 AMG. Oh, I mean, this is a car that just wants to run. And that bop, 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 bop. This is such a German muscle car in the most ridiculous way. Oh my goodness. And it's geared really tall. I mean, 7th gear, I'm going 80 miles an hour, 2,000 RPM. I mean, this is a fast car. This could go very, very, very fast. What's crazy too is that it handles. Oh, I can feel all the vibrations in my seat. This makes me want an AMG. I know I've always been kind of a BMW guy, but I gotta say, maybe my old school muscle car era days where I was really obsessed with like Chevelles and Corvettes combined with the BMW stuff results in me wanting a Black Series. The whole way down, it's just popping and cracking and doing crazy things. This is nuts, man. This is nuts. Let's try to put these rear ones down a little bit. Maybe that'll give us what we want here. The Black Series came with an adjustable coilover suspension setup from the factory. So it was designed, what do we have here? Is this an NSX? Looks good, we like that. I don't know, he doesn't seem to care. I don't care. He was deserving of the thumbs up. That's fine. But anyway, it came with this coilover suspension. The owner of this car put shorter springs on it, which is why it's a bit lower. And ignore your text messages. Nothing matters while you're driving this car. This is the most antisocial vehicle I've driven in a long time. Look, I drive cars, I mean, I drive a lot of cars. You know that. You pretty much see every car I drive on this channel. I haven't felt this tingly in a long time. This makes me tingly. This car, oh my God, this was peak car. This was the best of the best. I don't know if we ever got beyond this. Do we have faster cars? Do we have better handling cars? Yeah, but I don't know if anything feels as good as what we were doing in the early 2000s. There was like too much power, kind of overpowering these chassis. They were a little dangerous. You had to know what you were doing. The reward on this is insane, and I'm not even driving a manual transmission. The fact that I'm driving an automatic transmission that is this rewarding to put around a corner to get it right, how is this possible? I love the way that under partial throttle, it goes a little sideways. I mean, you can really feel the rear end stepping out just a little bit. I don't know that you notice it on camera, but everything just gets real tight. It just gets so tight. Oh, man. Oh, I'm in love. I'm in love. I didn't know I would love an AMG this much. Didn't know I could. I'm gonna be nice past this lady. This car is so antisocial. Shifts aren't that aggressive and they're not that fast. I think maybe the transmission dates it just a little bit, but it's fast enough. And because you've got all this torque, it's okay to stay in a higher gear and just let it ride. That's just insane. Merging into traffic in this thing is, whoa, what a joy. And I think you're scaring everybody around you. I mean, it's really loud. It's really loud in here, let alone behind me. It feels like I've got side pipes. You might have noticed that there's racing numbers on the side of the car because the owner of this car actually does take it to the track. I mean, he uses this car, and I have to commend him for it because a lot of people, they buy stuff like this and they tune them, they do all this crazy stuff, but then they never really experience what it's like, what it was designed for. I mean, this is a Black Series. It was designed to be a track car. It was designed to be fast. It was designed to be like this, which is still odd. I mean, it's almost a 4,000-pound car. I don't know what it gets for fuel economy, but all I know is that, like, if I owned it, I would not get very good fuel economy because I would need to continue doing that. This thing just launches grenades out of the exhaust on the overrun. Listen to that. Ready? I'm gonna get off the throttle. Boom, boom, boom. Oh my God. What is happening? A lot of times when I drive a new supercar, I always talk about how easy it is to drive and how you can kind of give it to anybody and they'll be just fine. Like a 720S, for example. You can pretty much give a 720S to your grandma and she'll be fine. You know, if you don't open the taps, it's gonna be okay, and the control systems are reasonable and keeps the rear end in line. This car, even with the traction control, I feel like I am playing with fire. Do not give this car to somebody who's not experienced. Do not give this car to somebody with no self-control. They will ruin it. They will die. Well, guys, regrettably, I have to go bring it back. I have to go give it back. I have to give the toy back. And I don't want to give the toy back because I like it. I like this. I like this a lot. Is that shocking? Probably not. But I think I'm surprised at how controllable and fun it is. How communicative everything is, even with Mercedes controls. And, you know, the throttle mapping's brilliant. Probably a little bit of thanks to Brent Tuning from that. I'm smitten. I'm in love. I think I get the Mercedes thing. I love the idea that you have to have willpower and self-control not to die in it, because you can't just go full throttle mid-corner. You know, there's a lot of torque here. We're dealing with close to 500 pound-feet of torque. You got to be careful. You're putting it down in a fairly short wheelbase. Jeez. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive. Thank you to the Patreon supporters for any donations, $1 a month, $10 a month, whatever. It helps support the channel and the podcast. Thanks to I'm running out of breath here. Thanks to Acton Auto Boutique for the opportunity to drive such a ridiculously powerful, fun, and unique, rare car. Man. Ooh. I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, I don't want to give it back. I'm having fun. Why is this so accessible? It's just dangerous enough, but also just safe enough to be fun. This is my new favorite thing. Oh, I want one of these. I need a Mercedes. I need a violent V8. Oh, yes. It's one of those fake engine start-stop things. Actually, let's find out. Does that work if I go like this? Accessory on. I know in the SL65 that button works. Let's find out if it works here. Nope. No dice.